Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Soulfire Ascension. I am Raven and
I'm Jessamy. Hello, everyone.
And we have Dr. Bowman here. And before we start our conversation with Dr. Bowman, let me play a very short version of her bio. Her bio is extensive, so let's play a small version. On Soulfire Ascension with Raven and Jessamy welcomes Dr. Bowman. Friday, May 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dr. Bowman believes strongly in the human potential to grow, adapt, and change, and that knowing ourselves helps build resilience. She has worked in mental health for over 2 decades in a variety of settings and is trained as a counseling psychologist, medical intuitive, and psychic medium. She offers services individually and in group sessions. As a psychotherapist, she offers briefly 4 to 5 sessions that integrates concepts of energy psychology with empowerment, mindfulness, cultural awareness, and evidence-based practices to help clients clear blocks that keep them from reaching their goals. Soulfire Ascension with Raven and Jessamy is sponsored by ravenshealingarts.com. Please like and subscribe. Don't miss out on this spectacular event. Awesome. So welcome. And we'd also like to thank our audience for being here and watching. We'd like for you to participate and ask as many questions as you'd like, because we love it when you participate, and we love y'all for being here. Thank you so much. So yay!
Hey.
Welcome.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself for the general audience, please?
Sure. I am a psychologist in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I own Three Rivers Wellness, which is a collaborative with different healing practitioners in the community. Several of us are psychotherapists or social workers. We also work with an astrologer and a crystal healer. And our crystal healer also does some energy work as well. I, in my fun time, love hanging out with my 3 beagles and doing gardening. I was in the garden earlier today. And yeah, that's me.
That is awesome. Awesome. I love it. That is, you are so, I mean, just when I sit next to you, especially in person, your energy is just radiant and you're always so bright. And the depth of your knowledge and wisdom is endless, absolutely endless. And I've always found you absolutely fascinating.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think you're so cool. You're such a neat person. What is your favorite way of combining psychology and spirituality? I know it's a lifestyle for you at this point. You would ask me what you wanted to talk about. I'm like, well, psychology, spirituality, and you're like, okay, just myself. Well, that's, yeah. So, how do you live that? What's that like for you?
Well, I think I think I've always been interested in spirituality even before I knew the terms for it. In college, I majored in both religious studies and psychology, and at that time they didn't mesh very well, or at least in the psychology department, they didn't really want to hear about my religious studies and my interest in spirituality. I think we've come a long way since then. And as far as how I meld the two, I think it really depends on the person that I'm working with. I try to be attuned to each person's individual spirituality, and also like help people kind of discover what spirituality is for them, because it's such an important part of our lives and can help us feel less alone and more connected to something divine, other people, ourselves, nature, and all of those things I think are really important in maintaining wellness. I would probably do it in a variety of ways, just kind of based on what the client needs.
Right. The different energy can require different things. Absolutely.
So I love how you do your work, and I think it's so fabulous that you are so in tune, because back in the day when people went to a psychologist or psychiatrist or any counselor, and if they mentioned anything that was at all like spiritual or intuition or anything like that, then they would have had said, I think you may need some Prozac, to them, really. You know, it was frowned upon. They were not open enough, and I commend you on being so open and coming into this era. And how many are there like you?
I think there's more and more of us. And I can honestly say that as a counseling psychologist, I trained at Ball State University and focused on multicultural issues, and definitely spirituality and religion falls into that category for me. I was really trained to be open, and my peers were trained to be open. And it hurts me to hear that people have had experiences where they have talked about their spirituality or their gifts, and that was pathologized. That's not what we're supposed to do as counselors. We're supposed to kind of welcome all aspects of people. I definitely know at my practice at Three Rivers Wellness, we have, I would say all of our counselors are open to talking about spirituality, and some of them really focus on it. One of our counselors is trained as a yoga instructor and does somatic work. One of our counselors does past life regression. And then a couple of our counselors are Reiki masters and integrate that into the work that they do. For myself, I have kind of figured out that I have other gifts as well, in addition to being a counselor. So I've learned more about medical intuition and being a psychic medium, and that is integrated as well. So like, I know that these gifts exist because they exist within me. It seems like a terrible idea to condemn someone or pathologize that when it's such a powerful gift.
Yeah. I feel that. I remember being in my early teens. I've been a psychic medium ever since I was a child. My very first memories, first friends were spirits. And I remember telling that to a psychiatrist, and he was like, "Oh, so you have hallucinations?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Those are hallucinations. There's no such thing as ghosts." And I'm like, "Well, they're not ghosts, but yeah." And then I was treated for hallucinations when they weren't hallucinations. So, psychiatry has made, and this was maybe 15-ish years ago. So, I mean, just in the last 15, in the last 10 to 15 years, I mean, leaps and bounds. And, you know, the people don't realize how far psychology has come even in the last 50 years from, you know, the 1970s. I mean, it's for a long time, people were just simply institutionalized until maybe 20 years ago, I think. Early 2000s ish. I think a lot of them started going out, the institutions, and it just, but a lot of the issues out there are now completely treatable outpatient. too. So not everything, but a lot.
So tell us just a little bit more about what you do. I know you do something with the eyes.
Yeah, I do a specific type of therapy called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR for short. The important part to note about that is that we do use eye movement, or what we call bilateral stimulation. So back and forth motion. We want movement across the center of the brain, because it helps our brains and our bodies process information in a more effective way. I deal primarily with people who have experienced trauma in some way. And when we experience trauma, it's so much information gets shoved into our system in any way that it will fit. And so it's not coded in a way that's really accessible. And so I use eye movement, or bilateral stimulation, sometimes tapping. You can tap back and forth as well. I use that to help people process trauma memories and store them in a more adaptive way. A really cool thing with EMDR also is that we can also build on people's coping strategies and like make them stronger in their system so that they're easier to access. And that's through tapping or through eye movement as well.
So
Yeah,
tapping is really very beneficial then. I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, so there's a couple different, so tapping and EMDR is really just back and forth motion. So back and forth. There is EFT as well, which also uses tapping, and they use it in a different way to access the meridians in the body. And I feel like that works really well. Also, I am not certified in EFT, but I have definitely referred clients to certified practitioners for it too. And I use it for myself as well. So when I'm stressed out or anxious or need to wake up, there's different methods you can use. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yep. So it's nice to be able to see the natural practices come forth too, instead of everybody just running to medications. The therapy, talk therapy, and then things like EMDR and tapping, they're becoming more and more popular. And, it generates a more awakened society. I feel that people are able to become more spiritually awake since they're not repressed by a lot of some medications. That's how I felt when I was able to get off of some, and then I was able to spiritually awaken. And then something would shift and be like, okay, well, now I need therapy for that. So I'd go to therapy, and then something else would awaken. And so it becomes like that. You treat the root of the problem, and then the tree is able to kind of grow from that. And the more you take care of everything, the bigger it gets. Is that how you see with your, not even your clients or just people even outside, but when you feed the root of things? Do you understand what I'm saying? Sorry, I'm kind of like everywhere. I'm pinging. I got excited.
So instead of treating like the symptoms, you actually get to the root cause of the issue.
Yeah. And then afterwards, you can see them kind of ascend even in life and in spirituality and onward.
Oh, absolutely. And I think of it like in our world right now, we are exposed to a lot of different toxins. And those could be chemical toxins, those can be energetic toxins, they could be emotional toxins. And I think of clearing trauma from the body as a way of clearing emotional toxins in a way. And when we clear those toxins, we can be our true selves. And yeah, it's hard to really know ourselves when we are cluttered up with trauma.
Right. Absolutely.
With trauma and with all the toxins in our body, and do you clear them naturally, or are we talking about food toxins? Because just about everything has toxins in it.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So I practice as a psychologist, and so I can really only help people on psychological matters, but certainly I can refer to other practitioners to help detox other things. I also can talk to them about using foods and supplements to help detox certain things. I refer a lot to the medical medium literature. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but it is really phenomenal as far as like how he has developed protocols using food and supplements to detox certain things out of our system. And
Yeah, I do his heavy metal detox. I've got
yeah,
both of those books, and the celery juice in the morning,
yep.
and there are so many things in that book. I mean, just even the little shots that you can make for the different detoxes. Yeah, that's awesome. I love the heavy metal detox because we don't realize how many heavy metals we actually have in our body.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And how many pathogens we're exposed to just like living our normal life. I had an experience a few years ago. I had to have surgery on my foot. I had arthritis in one of my joints, and they put an implant into my foot. Basically, they replaced one of the joints, and it has cobalt and nickel in it. And turns out I'm allergic to nickel.
Oh, no.
So that was really unfortunate. That's how I stumbled onto it's funny that I said I stumbled onto it because I stumbled, and that's why I had to have foot surgery. But I stumbled onto the medical medium literature because someone in one of my yoga classes noticed I was struggling and said, have you read medical medium? And so I started using the protocols to detox my system because when you're allergic to something that's in your body, it breaks it down in a different way. And so I was starting to have neurological problems and a lot of anxiety related to it. So I drink celery juice frequently. I try to do it every day. I'm going to honestly say I don't do it every day, but I would like to do it every day. And that heavy metal detox smoothie is pretty tasty.
Yeah, I started doing the celery juice every morning, and then, we had this fire in our house, and we had to go to temporary housing and all of this, and I kind of got off of it, but I really need to get back onto it because my body felt so much healthier doing it. And you're right, the heavy metal detox is very tasty. It doesn't look tasty, but it is.
Yeah.
Well, and get into it.
It's a season too where we're able to get the good fruits and vegetables in too. Especially like the not just American grown, but the locally grown is going to start here fairly soon, which is going to be really, really good for us. And so we'll be able to, not only have it fresh, but Raven has a freeze dryer that, she's able to freeze everything and then rehydrate. And I do a lot of freezing and canning and things like that. Try and stock that back for winter because the things in our food is crazy. It's crazy, and it messes with us. It medically and physically, it messes with us emotionally. Even the anxiety rates, like you were saying, anxiety rates from heavy metals, and Lord only knows what's in the chemicals on a lot of the food, or even in the processed food that. When they package it up in the factories.
And the food industry is deceptive. Because I have one of these Yuku apps, and I scan foods in the grocery store if I'm looking to buy something, and it'll say, this is healthy, this is organic, and I scan it, and it's like a 2 out of 100,
Oh, wow.
And it's so deceiving. It's not healthy at all. So we really need to watch what we are, buying.
Absolutely.
That's why I really like I do dehydration, I do canning, I do freeze drying, because we want those. Well, I want to know what's in my food.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the stuff with organic, organic is not necessarily good. The things that they put, the difference between the organic and the non-organic is organic is just non-synthetic, which is quote unquote natural, but the natural agent is actually Agent Orange. That's what they spray on organic food.
Really?
Yep, Yep,
Had no
that is
idea.
it's a known carcinogen, whereas the other is a possible carcinogen. But I mean, everything is a possible carcinogen at this point. But
So, and that affects us, our physical body, plus our emotional body, our spiritual body, and
yeah. And then
um,
I'm sure, Dr. Bowman, you can see where everything just kind of becomes that storm cloud. And as an intuitive and a psychic medium, how are you able to start kind of pulling that storm cloud apart a little bit?
And this is something that that's been a process for me to open up more intuitively and to talk about myself as an intuitive more publicly, just because sometimes there is a stigma that goes with spirituality in psychology and that we've talked about. But I feel like it's really important to talk about this and acknowledge that we all have an intuitive nature, and that we all have gifts that that we really are taught to squelch down. And we stop being as intuitive and we focus more on what's logical and reasonable. In my mind, though, that it's reasonable to pull on your intuitive gifts as well. And so I appreciate being here and talking about this, because I don't get to talk about it very much. But I think your question was like, how do I integrate that stuff?
How are you able to use your gifts and your abilities to kind of go in and maybe put feelers out to see, what could be, a physical problem versus what could be a possible chemical problem? What are they eating? What are the possible toxins? And I know people are giant puzzles. We're very, very complex and complicated. But, sometimes having that medical intuitive, the psychic medium, the general intuition even can help pull all that apart. So what is your favorite modality to be able to go in and start sorting things out like that?
So usually I start with psychotherapy, because that's what I do. And then I start with EMDR, because I have found that to be a very effective treatment. And a couple of years ago, I started having some interesting experiences when I was doing EMDR as a therapist. Sometimes different entities would show up, or I would have a loved one of one of my clients show up in the room. And I was not trained to really integrate that stuff into counseling, but things like that kept happening. And so it occurred to me that maybe I was supposed to be talking to my clients about it. And so I think my guides, because I've developed a pretty strong relationship with my guides at this point, they offer me like intuitive pushes that help me know what's right for a client, or what questions to ask, or like maybe where we need to go. And I've started like really helping clients figure out who their guides are, so that they can seek guidance through them as well. I use a lot of Tina Zion's work. She's a medical intuitive. Actually, in Leo, I read her books before I realized that she was from the Fort Wayne area. So that was really exciting to figure that out. But so I use some of the stuff that she talks about in those books to connect my guides with their guides, and then to kind of detox things energetically from the system. And then sometimes I just get messages like, I really think you need to drink celery juice. And I think the more knowledge I have, it's easier for me to kind of organize the things that my guides tell me, because sometimes they don't always come in like really clear messages. You have to interpret a little bit. You guys probably have realized this with your guides as well. And so I'm always just seeking more information to help organize it better. But I think one of my favorite strategies is to like just be open to what my guides have to tell me in session, and helping clients be open to listening to their guides as well.
That is really cool. I like that. I mean, and that has to be a lot for like when you first started and all that started happening. It was probably a little bit overwhelming, wasn't it? Like,
it was very overwhelming. And I kind of fought with it a little bit. And I have the sense that you guys have also been through similar spiritual awakenings, and yeah, you know that feeling when you're fighting with it, that it
You
doesn't really
can't
matter.
fight that stuff.
And it always
they're
seems
going to
like
make you listen.
right.
Yes.
It always seems like it's so easy to counsel somebody through it, and then when you start going through it, it's like I don't have time for this. And your guides they're going
Right.
to tell you,
Oh, yes,
you
you
got to
do.
make time. Oh yeah, oh yes, we do. But yeah, and then you think everything is good, and then all of a sudden you got more lessons coming in, and it's like I'm teaching other people, and so yeah, it's a lifelong process, and they don't let me forget it. Oh my goodness.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they keep me busy.
Just when I think all is good,
Yep.
something else comes up.
Exactly. Just the other day, I was like, man, I'm in a really comfortable spot in my life. I'm really enjoying everything. And then I got hit with the busiest 5 days I think I've had in years. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So they amped it up for me just to, I think, keep me in line a little bit is what they do. But oh
And
goodness,
sometimes I think mine just sit there and go, "Oh Lord,"
absolutely.
because I've had the brick in the head like so many times. Because I tend to be a little dense sometimes. Oh no, that I'm good. I'll do it this way. No, that
Yeah.
doesn't
I
work.
think we've all been there and are
Yeah.
still there sometimes, for sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, Dr. Bowman, you've worked with My Human Design. Is that correct? You've worked with that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So human design is a way of understanding people and ourselves that combines astrology with the chakra system, with the I Ching, the tree of life, and quantum mechanics. So it takes all these really awesome things and puts it into one system. And the easiest way to kind of figure it out is by getting an app on your phone. But you use your birth time and birth location and all your birth data to figure out what your human design is. And it creates like a body graph, and you can see based on your birth time and location what energy centers you came to this world with defined, and which energy centers you came to this world undefined. And the important part of knowing that is that where we are undefined, so where we have open energy centers, we're much more likely to collect stuff from other people or from our environment. We're more likely to collect toxins in those areas. And so I use it a lot in therapy to help me and my client figure out what are we most likely going to need to detox, and what do we need to do to help get you back to to living your design, because we're all designed differently, and we all have different characteristics. And being able to see someone's human design, like what their natal chart looks like, we can really help them figure out who they are and how they get back to being themselves, how they decondition the things that have become stuck in us that don't need to be stuck.
Well, what if they don't know what time they were born? Does that affect it?
That does affect it. And so there are a couple things you can do. I have figured out that at least for people born in Fort Wayne, most of my clients I work with are from Fort Wayne. You can go down to the Vital Records office and get your birth time. I do know that not everybody has that ability to do that. You can see an astrologer and sort of figure out your birth time sort of in a reverse way. It's called something specific that I can't remember right now, but an astrologer can help you figure out what your birth time is based on different events in your life. But sometimes that takes time and money. And so sometimes what I do with clients, if they cannot figure out what their birth time is, we try different birth times and see which of the design seems to fit them most. And it's not a perfect system, but at least it gives them a little bit more information. And there's a lot of stuff in your human design chart that doesn't change very much based on birth time. Like knowing your birth date and location gives you a lot of information. There are a few details that do require the birth time. And so I just talked to them about what those details are and like how that affects what we're looking at. That's a good question.
How do you see the tree of life in this? I mean, I work with the tree of life when I go through the past life regressions. We also go through a healing process in the body, and we have come to be healing our trees of life as well, because they seem to be affected. So how does the tree of life fit into this?
So I don't know specifically, but I do know human design, it was basically downloaded to a man back in the early 80s, and then he wrote it all down. And the part that I know about the tree of life and the Kabbalah is that it is integrated into the system, and it's part of the body chart. So it's how things are structured. I don't know for sure how much it's integrated and how it affects it individually.
Okay.
But I'm very curious to hear about the things that like you're doing with the tree of life. And you said, healing it. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. We go through when we bring somebody down for a past life regression, we go down into, say, 3 lives, because that gets them nice and deep. And then we call on their higher selves, and they call on any deity that they wish. They can call on archangels or whatever their spirituality, whatever they attach to or resonate with, and do a full body scan of the physical body, the emotional body, and the energy body. And then we also do a scan of the tree of life. And we have found that there are a lot of things happening to people's tree of life, and it does affect them in so many ways you would not believe. So,
that's really
and
interesting.
then because I believe that we are self-healing. And there's a lot of things that we can heal in the body, and because we are taught and we're programmed that we need to look outside of ourselves for healing, for source, for everything, when all of it is right inside of us. Do you resonate with that? Or
Absolutely. And most journeys that I have taken, most shamanic journeys or most meditation sessions where I've been able to access information from my guides or from other helpers, I have gotten the message, everything I need is inside of me to heal. I believe that 100%. And that's one of the reasons I really like practicing EMDR in the way that I do, because it's basically your brain healing itself with a little extra help to get it started. We jumpstart the process, but your brain heals itself. And I mean, that's how I feel like healing really, really works. Like we help the process start as healers, but really we're teaching people how to heal themselves, how to be their own themselves.
I was interested in that process of the I process, because I have gone through a couple of traumatic things, and I thought maybe that would be a good resource to kind of help me finish getting through with that, or get past this wall or something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I'm trained in a bunch of different PTSD and trauma protocols. And EMDR is the main one that I use now because it is so effective. And there are so trauma gets stuck in our bodies too. You guys know this, it gets stuck and not just in our neural networks, but it gets stuck in our joints. It gets stuck in our myofascia. And it can be stuck anywhere in the body. And through talk therapy alone, it's hard to access that part. And so the EMDR, because it has the body component and because it is your system healing itself, it's able kind of pull stuff out of the body and let it go, and detox it in a chemical, emotional way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely think EMDR could help with your stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Then I wonder, how many of your patients do you find their issues could be in this lifetime, or it could be carried over from another lifetime? Have you found that at all? Do you?
Yes. And that's something that I am still trying to figure out in my brain. But what I have noticed, because when I do a trauma history with someone, and as a therapist, an EMDR therapist in particular, there are certain ways of like helping people identify what their trauma events are. And so I do something I call a float back. So I have them think of a recent time where they've felt some distressing feeling, and then they bring that up in their body. And then I have them float back to another time where they felt the same way. And usually we find stuff in this lifetime that's causing the distress.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we can't find anything. So that could mean potentially that it was like a preverbal trauma. So before, like when they were very, very young, or in utero. But I have a hunch that sometimes we're dealing with things that are like from a past life, and that really need something else to clear.
Yeah.
And so I've actually been talking with my colleague who does past life regression about this some. But I'm thinking that there probably is a way to use EMDR to access that. I just haven't read anything else about that, or I haven't kind of figured out like what that would look like yet. But I think you're definitely onto something there.
Yeah, I just wondered if that was coming up as a connection with you. And that's, I accommodate. I mean, I just think that's awesome what you do, and that you're here and in tune with the times. I know I said it before, but I'm sorry, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. And, I love that.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I love that you founded a practice that incorporates all of it. It's all mind, body, spirit. You've got astrologers, you have the psychic medium, you've got someone who does the somatic yoga and things like that, which that's like a whole game changer. Like, you can store
They
emotions
even have
in
a
your
crystal
muscles,
healer.
in your joints. Yeah,
They even have a crystal
absolutely.
healer.
Like,
I think that's
it's
awesome.
phenomenal. So the fact that you were able to put all that together is just phenomenal. And I love that. I love that you have it here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Like, sometimes you stop and think, and you're like, oh, that's got to be in a big city. Nope, Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's very accessible. We're 40 minutes from Ohio, 40 minutes from Michigan, type of thing. And
yeah, but you do it online too, don't you? You do it on Zoom.
Yeah. Most of us do some telehealth, and I know our astrologer does most of her work through online. And crystal healing can even be done online. I have a Healy, which is an individual microcurrent frequency device. So it reads energy and applies an intervention based on someone's energetic needs, but that can be done through online healing too, or through remote healing. I feel like a lot of things that we do can be done remotely as well. And
I do my aura sessions online. I do them on Zoom. First of all, when you get finished with an aura session, Jesse can attest to it, you are so exhausted. And you should not drive for 3 hours, because it is super intense. Because you're going so deep into all the layers of your entire body and everything. And I also give the client a recording of the session. And that way they can watch it within 24 hours. They can have more dreams. They can have more memories. I also do my Reiki sessions the same way. I do a raw Reiki, which is a little bit different than the traditional Reiki. I use Archangel Alchemy, and I record those sessions as well. And all of my feedback and all of my intuition that I get from that and the client gets a recording of that. So anytime they want to feel that energy, they can just put that video on and feel that energy.
Wow.
Yep.
And so I think
It
it's,
works.
you know, I think being online, you can do so much that people didn't think that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so much better for people because, you know, when you're in your own home, you're in your own space, you're comfortable, you're relaxed, you know?
I always forget about being able to do things via telehealth. It's after COVID, I can't say that, but after the plague, we're not supposed to say that, but after the plague, and we started going back to a lot of the face-to-face meetings, I completely forgot about telehealth. So yeah, that just puts the accessibility, like it's limitless now. Mm-hmm. And I think that is so amazing. And I mean, you yourself, Dr. Bowman, is just absolutely, there's no limits to your abilities and what you can do. There's so many ways that you help people, and you offer classes too. Can you tell us a little bit about your classes? Are we still on?
I think she might be a little frozen.
We're back.
Yeah, there we go.
My classes, yes. So what classes have I done? We did a chakra group, so a group to teach about all the different chakras, and I participated in that, but mostly that was one of my colleagues who was running that. I have taught a class related to meeting your spirit guides, and I think I'm going to offer that online. I'm going to develop an online protocol for that because I've had a lot of people ask about it. I did a human design book group where we read a book that was really geared towards like understanding your own human design and your body chart. And that was a whole lot of fun. I have lots of ideas of things that I want to do in group settings and in classes. And I'm hoping to do a little bit more of that this year for sure. I know one of my colleagues at Three Rivers Wellness is planning to do, one of them does breath work. And so she's been teaching a lot of breath work classes. Oh, yeah. Those will definitely be posted on our Facebook page. But her name is Jennifer Holmes, and you can check out her page as well for the breathwork stuff. She does something, I'm not going to say the right thing, but something, so I'm not even going to try to say what specific breathwork she does. But I have done one of them, and it was really amazing. And then we have another person at Three Rivers Wellness who's starting a couples enhancement group. So just enhancing relationships and communication between couples. So that will hopefully be done soon as well.
Is that what it is? Hittite?
Hittite?
The breath work?
Yeah.
Mr. Fitzwater, is that how you say that? Hittite? So see if he replies here on our comments. But
Deborah Williams said that she agrees and to applaud and love that you are merging science with the spiritual healing. Thank you for this conversation and for what each of you are bringing to the table. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. So, Dr. Bowman, do you listen to the Gaia podcast at all? There's a lot of talk on there about merging the sciences and the spiritualities and psychology and quantum mechanics. And that's actually how I was thinking of you the other day. I was listening to that and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Erin. This is her. And yeah. And so that's when I ended up messaging you and wanted to see if you wanted to come on our show. Cause you're just so awesome. Like
it's really kind of you to say. I feel like we all have the potential to access our intuitive gifts and to heal ourselves and help others heal as well. And it's wonderful to be recognized and for you to see that part of me. And I would say the same for you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you. And by the way, just to let our viewers know, we are now on Spotify, and this show will be aired on Spotify as well. So
So,
just wanted to let you know that.
yep, it's very exciting. Very exciting. So
We're up there.
when you're, oh, I'm sorry, Raven.
Nope, you're good. Go ahead.
Yep, I was just gonna ask Dr. Bowman, when you're outside of the office, like away from having to work on other people, how do you take care of yourself? Like, what is your favorite way of, just letting things go and then getting back to you?
That's a great question, and I would say that has been a lifelong journey for me figuring that out. But I have learned that self-care for me is absolutely essential. Some of the things that I do, like regularly, I have a really regular yoga practice. I try to do it at least 3 times a week, and then get at least some yoga poses in every day. Nature is really detoxing for me. It's really good for me to be in nature. So like working in my garden, like I did earlier today, I felt very refreshed from that. My back hurts a little bit because I didn't use proper positioning, but my soul feels great. And even just going for a walk in the park really helps me a lot. I'm cautious also about cleansing my energy between sessions. And also at the end of the day, I use selenite for that a lot. And then also just some mantras that I recite with my guides. I also set up, and I learned this from my teacher, Gina Scarpino, who's out of Louisville, Kentucky. She has really helped me access my guides better. And I have, she taught me that basically I can like have conversations with, I know this seems obvious to people who already do this, but that I could have conversations with my guides and then we could come up with a plan for how to clear my energy. So even if I forget to clear my energy, my guides know that they're supposed to do it before I leave the office. And so I've like set up these like this pact with them that they do that, or they remind me to do it. But cleansing my energy has been really, really important. Epsom salt baths are fabulous for getting stuff out of my body too.
Yes. Epsom salt and baking soda and really hot water. If you sit in it for 40 minutes, at least that helps to draw out heavy metals too. I was reading, I actually had my little paper. I can't remember what her name was. I'll find it and I'll send you her name, but she's from the Appalachian area. So some of her stuff was, I believe she was a doctor before she passed, and then she had like some granny witchin' folklore home remedy type of stuff that was thrown in there, but it actually worked scientifically. So just absolutely, it was just really cool to listen to her stuff. But I've heard. I'm sorry, Raven.
Sorry, we have a question from Sam Blue, and she wants to know, for about how long do you work with a client? I mean, before starting to see results.
So I would say that really varies on the client for sure, and kind of how much healing work they've done previously. But I think usually it takes a lot. We can make progress a lot more quickly than people think they're going to. I tend to work with people who've experienced a lot of trauma, have complex trauma. I work a lot with veterans who've been through a variety of different traumas in service, and they always think it's going to take a really long time, and it usually doesn't. So I would say like everybody's a little bit different, but we've cleared really, really deep trauma events in just a few sessions, and then most people have experienced more than one traumatic event in their life. And so we move on to the next one. So usually I work with some of my clients I've seen for a couple years, some clients I see for 8 sessions and they're like, I think I got this. This is good. Sometimes I only see clients for a couple sessions because they feel healed. And then sometimes people will come to me just to clear one particular memory. And maybe that takes 1 or 2 sessions. and as I've started to integrate more medical intuition into what we do and using guides, that happens a lot faster too.
Mm-hmm.
So depends on the person for sure, but probably faster than you think it's going to.
That's good.
Awesome.
That is
Thank
really good.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you really have to listen to your body and make sure you listen to, going back to that self-care thing. I learned the hard way the past week that if you don't take care of yourself, your body's going to do it for you. And even if it's at the worst time possible. I started shutting down. I usually get up at like 3 a.m. to go to work. And
That's really,
I get up at 3 and then I'm usually at work by 5. And this whole week, my body was like, you're sleeping in, you're not getting up until 5. You'll be at work at 6. And it didn't matter how much I fought that. That's just how it was. And I tried everything. And so my body and brain, and then Tuesday, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't remember because that's how foggy it was. I had a migraine hit because my body was like, stop fighting me. Stop fighting yourself. This is ridiculous. So this migraine hit and I had to rest for a few hours and I still had to go into work late. And so trying to work as much as I could ended up making me to where I lost several hours of a work day, which for me, it really bothered me. But everything, and I honestly think that my guides kind of planned this, but everything happened to fall on a day that I had a massage and a therapy appointment, and I forgot about them both. So like I had this migraine and I went to work after I was able to take some migraine meds, and then I had a therapy session right after work, and then I had my massage session. And my massage therapist has been working on me for quite a while. Bless his heart, he's been in for a real treat. My muscles are always real tense, and he took one look at me. He said, "I see that we're people pleasing again, aren't we?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he's like, "Check your shoulders." And when I walked in, my shoulders were like this, because all tight, and I carry all of that in my shoulders and upper back. And the way he explained it was, when you take on everybody's responsibilities because you're people pleasing, either at work or at home, that lands on your shoulders. That's why, the term, the world on your shoulders, and it causes issues. And so he spent a good 45 minutes just on my upper back and everything and trying to get everything out of like the base of my neck, all that fluid and everything that'll accumulate. But it's one of those things where if you don't stop and listen to your body, listen to your soul self, your higher self, everything is going to shut down for you. Every so often I hear my guides a lot. Most of the time they will say what they need to say and it's quiet. It's like in my head. And then when I'm not listening, it's like they yell in my ear. And the past couple weeks, I've been at a full roar. I'm 100 miles an hour. I'm trying to get stuff done. I'm thinking about everything. And then I start getting you need to stop. You need to stop. You need to stop. And then pretty soon I hear disengage. And then my brain shuts down. And the next thing I know, I'm in bed. I'm in bed for hours. I'm not functioning because I pushed myself too far. And I didn't listen to my guides when they told me to stop.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you live in a go culture. And so
mm-hmm.
it's hard to slow down. One thing that I do for that is I try to plan in, like I put in some sort, I call it a detox activity, some sort of detox activity every single day. So whether that's yoga, taking a bath, going for a walk, drinking my celery juice, I make sure that I'm doing something to take care of my body and get rid of the stuff that's stuck in it. Right. My human design is that I have a very open chart, which means I have a lot of undefined spaces that collect stuff. And so actually planning it in and putting it like on my calendar keeps me more accountable, because you're right. It gets like, once it reaches our body, it's harder to get it out.
Right. Right. And that's been, it's been a 6-month process. We started working on all of this 6 months ago. And I almost feel like my body's on a timer. It's like my body hits 30 days and it's like, 30 days, it's time for that massage and everything gets tight again. And it's like, Okay. So obviously I'm not processing something somewhere that's, hanging out my muscles is where that is. But
Raising my hand. Who has a question? Dr. Bowman, do you work with autistic people?
I do work with people who are on the spectrum. I also have a colleague who really specializes in working with people who are on the autism spectrum. And so, yes, for sure.
Awesome.
So
Thank
do you
so
have
much
any?
for asking?
Oh yeah, we have some really good questions tonight.
Yes.
So do you have anything up and coming as far as like classes, activities, anything fun in the community now that summer is approaching that you know of? Anything on the calendar?
Wow, it's like shocking to me that summer's approaching. I know that's really happening, but it's May.
It's still light outside too.
I don't think I have anything specific planned that's on the calendar yet. I would like to do another class on human design sometime this year. And I would also really like to do some workshops related to meeting spirit guides and some like just energy hygiene classes. So like how to detox things from your body, how to manage your energy, how to like keep your auras clean. So I'd like to do some classes related to that. And then just the work that I do every day, working with individual clients, and adding in a little bit more mediumship stuff too.
Right.
I have found the mediumship work that I do is so meaningful to people. When you can help them connect with their loved ones in spirit, and it really speeds up the healing process. So just learning a little bit more about that for myself and integrating that more into my practice, I'd like to do.
Absolutely. And it heals you as well. But when you heal somebody through that type of medicine, that you get healing from it too. So it's not just, it's not just giving with emptiness. You are replenished as well. That's why I love doing the psychic medium work as well. But yeah, that is phenomenal. So where would everybody be able to find your listed classes? Do you have a specific Facebook page that they can go to or find you at, follow you on?
We do. And we try to list our classes on our website as well, threeriverswell.com. I think Raven has put it up there. Thank you for that. And we also would list them on our Facebook under our Facebook events, Three Rivers Wellness on Facebook. And in my practice, we work as a collaborative. So everybody kind of has their own business and then we all work together. And so I try to advertise their events on our Three Rivers Wellness Facebook page as well.
Good. I love that. I love that you have your own individual thing and then you work as a team. Like that just establishes a really good community mindset as well. That hive mind, and we need more of that. We need a lot more of that.
It really works well for us.
Good. I'm glad. I'm really glad. I remember I went to your office. Was it last year or something? And I remember stepping in through the threshold and the sense of calm and ease just washed over me. And I'm like, I like this place. This is nice.
That makes me feel good because we really attend to the energy there, and I'm glad that it's working.
Oh, you can tell. You can definitely tell. You can tell. It was like a happy, buzzy, but also calm energy. You know how like when you slip into that really hot bubble bath that is like perfect, and then the bubbles kind of fizz around you, and you're all comfortable. That's kind of how it felt. It was like that bubbly fizz and super comfortable and warm. So
that makes me happy.
Good. I'm glad.
So, what message would you like to leave our audience with tonight?
I think I would just like to say for people to look deep within themselves, know themselves, and trust your gut. Yeah,
that's a big one. Trust your gut, your intuition.
That's a real big one.
And it's really nice to be here and to talk about this stuff with you guys. I don't get to always talk about it publicly like this, and to have people ask questions and just know that we're all healers and we're all helping people. It's so wonderful.
Well,
Absolutely.
maybe you could come back on our show one time and maybe bring one of your colleagues with you as well.
Certainly.
That
Yeah,
would be
absolutely.
Have a good conversation with that.
Anytime.
We're all about healing the collective.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. And
Yep.
inspiration. You know, I definitely want to spread inspiration as much as possible. You know, everybody's starting to wake up. Everybody's starting to come together. Healers are finding each other. Star seeds are finding each other, and so now is the time. And I'm so glad that you are able to come onto the show. Thank you so much for allowing us to have a discussion with you.
Honored
Absolutely.
and
I'm
blessed to
honored.
have you.
Awesome.
And we
Thank
thank
you,
our
guys.
audience tonight
Thank you
for
guys.
being here as well. We wouldn't be here without you.
Not at all.
And we're hoping to have Dr. Bowman back.
Yes, anytime. So thank you all. We love you. Dr. Bowman, thank you so much.
Yep, you're so welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.